Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Amityville Horror Marathon.
Amityville Horror-thon, Amity Marathon. We should have thought about this before we started recording.
Well, yeah, but the point is we're going to watch all of the Amityville horror movies in order, starting with the first one from 1979, based off of the book, based off of the real-life situation where a family bought a house that they didn't want ultimately.
Everything Patrick just said was in quotation marks or italics, depending on your grammatical preference.
Yeah, because there's, for as many movies as there are, there's a rich history with the real situation, which we are going to pretty much ignore until
I don't want to call the Lutzes up and say, was this real? Did this actually happen? It's just, we're watching a bunch of movies. I'm pretty sure the one that came out last year where a survivor of the Amityville horror accidentally created a giant killer shark. Pretty sure that's not real. So let's just go with that for everything.
Yeah, I feel like realism in this is going to just hold us back.
Exactly. It's a horror movie. It's supposed to be real enough to actually scare us. And or by scare us, I mean we invest in the characters. We want to see them get out of the house. But we also don't mind if they don't get out of the house.
Depends how likable they are along the way if we root for the ghost this time.
I mean, I think we've got a good shot. We've got Margot Kidder, Canadian horror queen. James Brolin.
James Brolin.
And Rod Steiger. And apparently a pre-fame and fortune, again, in quotation marks, James Tolkien of Back to the Future fame.
Yeah.
You will know him by his phosphorescently bald head.
Yep.
Man, it was, like, everybody's born bald, but that guy was born bald.
Yeah, even Marty made the joke. Was he always old?
He was always old. It's just the way it is.
So, yeah, we're going to attempt each of these. And that way you don't have to, because some of these are proving tougher to track down than others. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes today just to figure out where this one stood, and it is the highest ranked of the Amityville horror movies. It came in at 30%.
30%. Nowhere to go but down. There's like 25 of them, so do you think it'll be we lose a percentage point with each one, or is it going to be like dramatic and then plateauing?
Well, it drifted back and forth. A lot of them hovered between 14 and 18%.
Ooh.
Then a large chunk of the series, like probably 2/3, did not have enough reviews to aggregate a score.
Mind you, all of this, if it stays above 18% or above, all of this is still higher than Vibes, starring Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper, which is still somewhere between 6 and 8% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
That movie has Peter Falk and like psychics and the Lost City of Gold, and people gave it a 6. There's no justice in the world.
I mean, I saw it in the theater.
Nice.
I would give it above a 6, but I don't know if I would go above Amityville Horror, the first.
That's fair. But we'll find out. We'll be able to judge after we watch it. Which you have you seen this one before?
I saw it when I was little.
Fair.
I have very little memory of it. I remember, I think, the walls bleeding and flies and like a lot of the stuff that wound up being tropes off of it.
This is the one with the doorknob falls and it's like the inverted cross on the doorknob.
Oh,
is that
okay.
This one?
I don't
It
know.
might be.
I also only saw this originally because we had family that lived up near Amityville.
Hey!
And we went up on a trip to visit the family and go to the beach, and on the way they did a detour and said, hey, that's the house from Amityville Horror.
Keep driving. Do not slow down.
And I had to know what was so scary about it. And I think maybe this entire project is going to teach us that.
I mean, I have hopes. It's kind of like I love the horror franchises with a lot of sequels. Your Nightmare on Elm Streets, your Friday the 13th, your Chucky movies. I had no idea that there were this many like named. like we're going to be fudging it a little bit. There's the actual movies that are produced by the same group that are supposed to be part of the original Amityville Horror. There's a remake. There's a whole bunch that are just the name. And then I think, if weather permitting, we may even do some of the Conjuring ones, since like the Conjuring and like the Haunting in Connecticut are just so blatantly just trying to be Amityville Horror.
Yeah, but like not taking on the stink of the name that it had taken on by having so many sequels.
Indeed. Which, you know, I think we'll be able to quantify it more after we finish it, but from what the little I understand about it, the formula of the Amityville Horror is that it combines not just the haunted house tropes, but also the exorcist possession tropes. Like, it's the combination of it's like the chocolate and the peanut butter coming together to form the peanut butter cup of horror. That's the clever. That's what makes this premise so good that we should do it 20 plus times in this mold.
As of our research going into this, it looks like, with just accounting for Amityville movies, not including Conjuring or Haunting in Connecticut, the number we have is, I believe, 26 movies.
Jesus Christ.
But some of that's still being researched, because we found some that a movie was released under two different names 4 years apart, so that whittled it down because the number was higher.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make sure that we whittle out any kind of re-releases or re-edits.
Yeah.
And
your Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 situation.
Exactly.
You have to be a new movie, even if, as there appears to be at least one, porno movie.
Although it appears that it is softcore parody.
I mean, I would hope.
Yeah. It was done as an independent horror film. I think it was a Kickstarter, and the people who made it are
it's a labor
planning
of
on a
love
DVD
in
release within the
more
year,
ways than one.
Yes. And that was the Amityville Vibrator, I believe.
I believe it's the Amityville Vibrator.
That's going to be late in the series because we have to find it. Hopefully we can get some traction with the podcast and then just tell them, hey, send us one free.
I can't see how this podcast won't set the world on fire.
Yeah.
We're talking, I mean, if there's anything more finger on the pulse of the nation, it's lackluster horror movies that are 40 plus years old.
I feel like, especially with everyone being, housebound for the last year, we've started to curate our news feeds and understand what's really important. And the biggest gap in the news and entertainment world was a retrospective of the Amityville Horror series.
Obviously. I mean, it's like, we're the geniuses, or Patrick is the genius that said it out loud, but once he said it out loud, it's just like the biggest duh moment of the pandemic.
I mean, everything else has been covered. Like, there are plenty of podcasts out there about all the Puppet Master movies and all of the Tremors movies.
Oh my God.
And
all the Puppet Master movies.
Like, those are
a lot of those.
Yeah, and it's well-worn territory. I mean, Edgar Wright, I think, had a Puppet Master series that he just...
Oh, did he really?
He just covered all the movies and how they influenced his film career.
Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright?
I mean, Shaun of the Dead, it borrows heavily. I can't even keep it going.
No. Okay, you had me there for a second. I thought, it's like, I mean, who knows? It's just like, people, you can like what you like. I mean, I have the first three Puppet Masters on DVD. We're getting off topic. I have the original Amityville on DVD, as well as the Ryan Reynolds version. I know I've watched the one we're going to watch now at least once, though I have no real recollection of watching it.
Yeah.
This was back when I felt morally obligated to buy the original movie if I liked the remake a lot.
Fair.
So now I have this movie.
Yeah. I literally don't own anything Amityville Horror. I don't own any of the movies. They've never made an action figure.
This is the thing that, this is the intriguing thing for me. There's 20 plus of these things.
There's no merch.
Nobody says, favorite horror movie, Amityville. Any of them. Not a one person.
Yeah. People don't debate
People
about
love
their
the
favorite.
Puppet Master.
Yeah. There's no debate about your favorite sequel. There's no debate about your favorite incarnation of.
No.
Like, everyone's got a favorite Jason.
Everybody's got a favorite Jason. There is no... Like, there's nothing to latch onto, and that's probably the big thing. It's like there's no recurring characters. They're like good guys or bad guys in this.
The most recurring thing would be the house, which again they abandoned because there's one with a shark. There's one about an evil lamp that came from the house, but it's set in a different city.
Is that different from the one with the clock?
I believe so.
You are kidding me.
I think that there are multiple possessed item movies in this series.
That is clever. That, I mean, as a way to perpetuate the thing, because you can't, like, it's, if that is the case, I would appreciate that much more than these Jurassic Park movies, where it's just like, guys, stop going to the island with the dinosaurs.
The park's a bad idea. Lesson. Learn it.
Exactly. This one is like after the second or third person that moves into the Amityville house and at least claims to be possessed and murders their family, maybe we should just not let people in this house anymore.
Yeah, so now the house has to leave in the form of evil tchotchkes that aren't going to be picked up by, the Friday the 13th series crew.
That would be the best crossover.
Well, maybe we can write some fanfic by the end of this.
Dear God.
So, anyway, wish us luck. We're going to go ahead and start the first Amityville horror movie now. For us, it'll be about 2 hours. For you, it'll be just a moment.
Also, my name's Tom, and this is Patrick. Patrick is the genius behind this. And also the one to blame. We didn't introduce ourselves.
We didn't do that, did we?
No.
Yeah, this is professional.
We're totally professional.
Yep, a good idea for a podcast should be followed through with just as much good production.
Exactly. This is just, hey, the Amityville horror movies are figuring themselves out in this first one. We're figuring ourselves out in this one.
So hopefully you stick with us, not just through what's going to be probably a bumpy episode, but through what's going to be a very bumpy horror series by the end of this.
24 plus.
I have a feeling you're going to hear our mental degradation through this.
At least we're not making you sit through us watching them.
Yeah. If you want to check any of these out, feel free to research them.
This one, we're going to be watching it on HBO Max, so feel free to watch it on there. It may also be on Amazon Prime.
I believe so. I believe it is for rent on Amazon Prime. It is included in HBO Max.
Yeah.
And it is pretty readily available on DVD.
Yeah. We'll try to remember to tell you how you can watch it if you so desire, before or after we talk about it.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Let's do this. All right, Amityville. Well, that was a thing.
That was a whole movie.
The Amityville Horror is 2 hours long.
Longer than your average horror film.
Less actual narrative drive than your normal horror film. Which is like kind of the thing that kind of like, aside from the visuals, the narrative wise, it's just kind of crazy because it has all of the ingredients of a good horror movie, but there's like no tension.
No.
Like consistently no tension.
It's... I hesitate to say it. It's a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
But that novel series actually had cause and effect.
Yes.
There's just... They move into this house and a bunch of shit starts happening. And within 2 weeks, they leave.
Yeah. And it may or may not have supernatural causes. Right. Well, the movie is saying supernatural causes.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood coming out of the house.
And I guess there's a verisimilitude to that, in that, it's just a section of these people's lives where things go horribly wrong, and there's not like we don't see like a big monster that is, singling them out for this torture like you would in a normal movie.
Though that does raise the question of what is the house's end game?
Apparently just to let them go when they leave.
Like, the house just wanted to be left alone then.
That was what they told the priest. Well, he told the house told the priest to get out. He wasn't telling the people to get out.
Right.
The house wanted George to kill everybody, I think.
Okay. So...
Andor was turning George into the guy that killed everybody the year before. Mm-hmm. There's a newspaper picture of just James Brolin that's supposed to be the kid that murdered everybody the year before, which is kind of confusing. Do you think Kathleen was just seeing that, or
the bartender also said he looked just like the guy the year before.
Yeah.
So if you're going to move into a house that's suspiciously cheap, make sure to look up pictures of who lived there and that you're not a doppelganger.
For real. It's fun. James Brolin is the clear winner of this movie. And he starts off looking like perfectly blown dry, just gorgeous hair.
Sears catalog model.
Sears catalog model.
In the corduroy pants and the tight, plaid shirt.
And then through the course of this movie, he has several haircuts, including one 10-minute sequence where he has soul glow from coming to America. But then by the end of it, he looks like Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway. I wrote down the Fabulous Freak Brothers. And
he absolutely took that league on. He even had a little bit of Tom Hanks in the Money Pit, which we talked about during the movie.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, this is like the Money Pit, but plus the devil.
Right.
Which is sort of like one of the underlying problems of watching this movie now, not having seen it before, is that you've sort of seen the better versions of this movie. Like, this is a poor man's Shining or Poltergeist, even though both of those movies came out after.
Right, but I did look it up. The Shining started production in February of that year, 79. There were some production delays, but... And
Kubrick really had to torture Shelley Duvall for an extra year to get his direct performance.
Like, the entire time they were filming this, he was probably trying to get one shot of her.
Oh, for the love of God, what a jerk.
Yeah. But, that said, he made a much better film.
He did. Because there was tension, and you cared. Like, this movie, it does, I'm not going to say it does everything out of order, but it skips a lot of steps, and then you see them backpedaling. Like, the first 15 minutes of the movie, we barely know any of the families' names. We're not introduced to any of the three kids. We don't know what the situation is with the marriage, even though there's a thing.
We don't get the name of any of the kids until 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. And the big Rod Steiger priest get out scene happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
We are introduced 15 minutes into the movie to Rod Steiger's priest character before we, again, have ever met the kids, gotten their names, or heard them speak.
Yeah.
He goes into the house.
They're out on the boat.
Yeah. He just goes in, wanders upstairs, gets covered in flies, becomes ill, goes home. And they never knew he was there.
Flies.
Unseasonable flies.
Unseasonable flies. And now that we've seen the end of the movie, Rod Steiger has no scene with the Lutz family.
Not a one.
So, when was he filming? He has, there's one character, or there are two characters that interact with the Lutzes that interact with Rod Steiger, the police detective and Father Druid Man.
Yes. And, I want to come back to the Catholicism of the movie, but let's handle Rod Steiger to start. We're introduced to him.
Yeah.
He shows up, he gets sick.
Full Marlon Brando.
Yeah. Looking very like Brando meets Brian Doyle Murray.
Yeah, or just Jor-El.
Yeah.
Jor-El with less hair.
So through the course of the movie, he is just back at his church, trying to convince the other priests, including the mayor from Jaws, who doesn't believe him. Shock.
The mayor from Jaws the actor was demoted from the mayor of Amity Island to guest priest in Amityville.
So really, I don't think he understands friendship at all.
No, amity does not mean friendship. But at least he finally quit smoking. Like, he's not even holding the cigarette this time anymore.
True. And amity not meaning friendship, at least amity means crash positions still.
I mean, obviously, we think of the tourism. Think of the Catholic tourism of Amityville.
The house is very photogenic.
It's so photogenic. And it's always looking at you. The house looked good. Like, they have this gag with the evil eyes of the house looking at the audience all the time. And that wasn't bad.
Yeah. It was kind of the thing that I guess was iconic enough to get people to come to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make 23 more.
So, I'm trying to go over my notes. We've got on day 8, and we're going to go through the days. We're going to backtrack for the family's purpose.
As the movie does.
Mm-hmm. On day 8, a week after the family has moved into the house, and 5 days after he has seen whatever ultimate evil made him nauseous and surrounded by flies in an attic.
Like, we're talking full-on overacting fake puking. Which would not be the last time somebody does it in the movie.
Absolutely not. And to mixed effect.
It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. He never once says, let's call animal control. There might be a dead raccoon in the walls. That might be in the smell.
No.
He just says, it is evil. We need to put the church on this. And has what is a fantastic monologue.
It's pretty good. Yeah, that one, it was like, it was just, it was a breath of fresh air to have two characters talking to each other about the same subject with the same emotional intent.
Well, it stood out because, it was the one scene in the movie where a person would say a thing, and then the thing that another person said was in response to that, and not just another line of dialogue that might go here.
Yeah. It was, there was a lot of, like, Michael Bay's Armageddon level of editing when it came to the dialogue, where just, like, Kathleen would say would talk about, like, hey, we're really going to make it work here. And then George would say, did you turn the oven off?
And then she would say something along the lines of, are the kids all right? Or,
Yeah.
It was a series of statements by two people who are arguably married.
They know they're in the same room.
Yes.
They're not, it's not even that they're at cross purposes, they have no connection whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And this is our family. And this is when everything is nice and happy.
Yeah,
before things get worse.
This is when their chemistry is at full, throttle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Margot Kidder, though. Actually, both of them look great. They look like they look right together, but then, like, one of the first big, like, hug moments, it looks like James Brolin is afraid he's going to break her in half. Which was just, the body language is so weird.
Yeah. Their chemistry was
non-existent.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, most of the movie, she's terrified of him. So I get not having early chemistry.
For sure.
Maybe shoot those scenes where they like each other first, or shoot all the terrifying stuff, then go out, have a few drinks, play a game of pool, and then film the stuff where they get along and they've already been through most of the movie. Like, there's ways to get some sort of chemistry between your actors.
It was weird.
Yeah. So we have... we have 15 minutes into the movie. Not a lot has happened.
Other than the big... Like, whenever you watch a clip show of horror movies and they show you the clip of Rod Steiger freaking out and running out of the house, keep in mind, that is the 15-minute mark of a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it's not like it increases in danger or scariness. It maintains that same level, but it never actually goes anywhere.
No.
It's weird.
Like, we see that scene, and then the next one of the next things we see is Brolin basically complaining about the fact that it's a fixer-upper, which they were told when they were being shown the house, and that he complains they're going to nickel and dime us to death on a house that he knew was a fixer-upper, and they is literally him. who is a person who, if I'm not mistaken, by his company, does surveying and construction, or...
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to understand that the psychological effect of the demonic possession of the house is that George perpetually has a hangover.
Yes.
And is just angry. It's just like, would you just shut up? It's just, everything's annoying and ugh.
Mm-hmm. He looks...
Those are direct quotes.
Through the course of the movie, he looks more and more like rock star in the coke binge phase of their career in any given biopic.
Yeah, we keep like reding up the eyelids, and just the hair gets freakier and freakier, and he starts just doing weird stuff. Like, he's at a lending library at one point, trying to find stuff out about the house, and he goes to sneak a book out of the library. You know, the library where they lend you a book.
Yeah, you just say, I would like this, and they say, okay, can you have it back in 3 weeks?
Sure.
I'll try. And then you go.
Yeah, no. Shoves it in the front of his pants, which he's been sweating through for, at that point, what are we at? 15?
The library was
day 12. Day 12. Oh my God. I just have the 3 words right here. Brolin is great. As he is. He's so good.
Yeah,
he is like the one thing that is consistently fun about this movie.
He is so invested in his insanity. I would love to know what would have happened had he been directed.
Yeah, basically. Margot Kidder, and this is like at the height of Margot Kidder, has nothing to do.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because she's like supposed to be the mom that that sees that everything is going wrong, and so she's the one gonna have to save the whole family because dad is clearly going nuts. Nothing.
Yeah, the whole time, basically her reactions and her expressions are, wait, what now?
Huh?
Oh.
Because keep in mind,
what?
The priest knows that the house is possessed by an evil so great, he wants to exorcise the entire house. Mm-hmm. He has tried to call on the phone like 3 or 4 times, been disconnected every time, but has made no effort to actually go and contact the people directly to let them know.
He has tried to call them several times with static on the line.
Yeah, yes. But okay, after the 3rd time that the phone call doesn't work, go back. Don't go in the house, but it's like, hey.
Oh, well,
God, you're right.
He did. He tried with Father Monk. They went to the house, but unfortunately, the house, as it turns out, had cut the brake lines on their car.
The house cut the brake lines on the car.
And then managed to rig the hood to blow open on the street. The house is that powerful. The car went full
Tommy Boy. Mm-hmm. The house is evil. Which, as it turns out, there is discovered by George and Kathy's hippie friends that there is. Turns out they built the house on the old Micmac burial ground. Mm-hmm. Now, it was some Satanist guy named Ketchum was kicked out of a town for being a Satan worshiper and murdered a bunch of people in the basement, and they blocked off the room in the basement, and that was it.
Yeah.
They didn't move the bodies.
They didn't even repaint the basement.
You can't, it's hard to watch this movie and not think of, Poltergeist or The Shining, better things.
As we talked watching the movie, Poltergeist definitely takes some cues from this movie. And Poltergeist is based on a lot of different house haunting stories, as is this, because it's definitely not based on the actual original story. More on that in a second. But Poltergeist took a lot of these elements, and I feel like Spielberg and Hooper sat down and said, okay, what they did. But, we can do that better, right? Yeah.
It's like Alfred Hitchcock with Psycho.
Yeah.
Just but what if we put effort into it?
Yeah.
And yet it's not a bad looking movie. I couldn't get I couldn't get over it. This was directed by the same director as Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
This is not a bad filmmaker.
But it might not be his wheelhouse.
It might not be his wheelhouse. Also, apparently his wheelhouse is putting as much crap in the forefront of each shot.
And that's where I was going to check you on the. It's not a bad looking movie. There are some nicely framed shots. The lighting is at least theatrical, if sometimes muddled and confusing. But there are shots where, like, oh, somebody's coming out the front door. I would love to see that, but you have literally framed it so that a branch full of leaves is in the foreground in focus. So blurry in the background is the family coming out the front door.
Yes.
What? Like, yeah, so I can't...
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It definitely, like, I love the autumnal look. Mm-hmm. And, like, this is very much in the vein of, hey, Halloween was a popular movie.
Let's make it look like that.
Let's make it look like that. And then there's a Satan pig.
Mm-hmm.
There's the same, like, there's, like, they go out of their way to not have, like, goofy, over-the-top, special effect-y horror
most
moments.
of it's like wind blows this, or the chair is rocking, or that doll is creepy. Like, most of the effects are doors closing, like normal ghost stuff. And then
we get to the end, and it's like, oh, shit, we've got nothing. Quick. Put an evil dog thing or a pig, give it glowing eyes and make it the entire window, and only George sees it. And now Margot Kidder is old for some reason. Yeah,
that made no sense. I have no idea what that is about. But yeah, Margot Kidder, as George is going completely nuts, George being James Brolin, sees her and she is in old people makeup.
Old people makeup.
But yeah, like the ghost pig was foreshadowed, even though she couldn't see it when it actually showed up. She could see it out the window when the window stuck after the window had already tried to take the hands off the kid. Oh, you
think that was the glowing eyes?
I don't know, because they didn't give us anything else to go on.
Nope.
We have to make the connection that those glowing eyes were the space pig.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just other eyes.
It's just other eyes. Maybe it was the thing from Suspiria. At the beginning of Suspiria, the eyes in the window.
They saw Suspiria. Like, when they were making this, they definitely had seen Suspiria.
Yeah. Well, that explains the red room.
Yeah, and a lot of the, like, harsh red lighting.
Yeah. And then the fake puking. I love Kathy, Margot Kidder's character. Her aunt Helena shows up, and she, like, everybody, like, George is complaining about her showing up, the kids are complaining about her showing up, and then she shows up and she's a nun. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to that, because they moved into this house and they have some guests. First off, they had apparently told the priest to show up. They didn't think he did, and then we're checking on him, and he had been trying to call them for several days.
Yeah. All of this after the fact, almost as if as they were making the movie, they realized, oh man, we didn't explain this. Let's quick shoot this scene where we explain this.
Mm-hmm. So they have this priest that's supposed to show up, but they also have this nun that's a family member?
It's her aunt.
It's her aunt.
Yeah. Aunt Helena.
Aunt Helena is a nun from a different church, because they definitely did not talk, her and the priest.
Yeah.
She shows up, also feels sick. They also have
an amazing, like, she leaves, she drives off, parks, and then fake pukes for like 30 whole seconds, as loud as she possibly can.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And then you have the brother had the wedding.
Yeah.
Like,
Margot Kidder's brother this time.
Like, a lot of these plot elements, I am I'm looking at my notes, surprised to see them, because once they were done with it, they were done with it.
Well, that's why I think it goes back to like the this is just a section of a person's life, where it's just like, no, this contributes nothing to the story, but this is what happened according to what they said.
Right.
Oh my god. So okay, I understand this now. I've just finally made this connection that, like, hey, her brother stole $1,500 in real life, and they blamed it on the ghost after the fact.
kind of like the actual real life story of. So in real life, the family had bought the house, fallen behind on their payments. It wasn't within the first 2 weeks, as in the movie, and so they were going to default, but that would have been too much of a financial blow. So they went ahead and came up with this story of possession, and they were explaining that they could not pay the bills because of all of the shit going on with the possession. The house is haunted. That's why we're moving out. That's why we're defaulting on it. We don't want this evil house where a murder did take place.
Sure.
There had been a murder in the house.
Sure.
In real life, they had known that the murder had taken place. And in the movie, I think they do mention that.
I think so. It does not seem to come as a shock.
Right. But the original family were apparently, air quotes, shocked that there was a murder there. They got that house for super cheap, but still couldn't afford to keep up on payments, defaulted, and claimed possession to be able to get out of the debt, and created this whole whirlwind
sensation.
Yeah, this 26 movie franchise. So, when they individually gave their statements to the police, they were separately recorded. Those recordings were then given to the person to write the book that this movie is based off. Yeah. And he was never able to talk to the family directly as far as some of my research, but I haven't dove in too deep. He took the recordings that they gave to the police, listened to them, and realized how completely contradictory they were. Elements were just kind of made up on the spot. Other things didn't line up on timelines. So he took what the family said and tried to construct a separate narrative out of it. One that, as we again noted through the movie, borrows heavily from The Shining.
Yeah.
Things like the book The Shining, the axe through the door, and the crate. Like basically the father having this slow breakdown, going nuts, coming after the father. A lot of specific moments were right out of The Shining, the novel. And I mean, they still made money off of their story because there were no criminal charges, so you still can. So, yeah. There was a whole lot of bullshit that got us to the point of a screenplay. That's basically a week Shining. Wow. Okay, yeah, we went way off schedule on notes, because why not?
Well, we're not doing it. We can't do the whole...
Yeah, we can't do the whole thing.
As near as we can tell, Rod Steiger was never on set with the Lutz family.
Not a once.
Which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Rod Steiger, who also gives another great monologue in the church where whatever in the house is causing evil comes after him at the church and starts breaking apart one of the statues.
But only in his mind.
Right. And then it makes him blind.
But maybe only in his mind. There's ambiguity and there's stupid.
Yeah.
This was kind of stupid.
We don't know how he got struck blind, except that he's blind the rest of the movie, and that's the end of his character arc, is he's just kind of...
Yeah, he shows up one other time but says nothing.
Yeah, so his real story is, I showed up this house, it was evil, I tried to call him a couple times, I went to pray for him, then a statue fell apart, I'm blind now, and nobody's talking to me anymore. Like, that's his arc.
Yeah.
Is he literally is like, yeah, I got covered in flies and now I'm blind.
Unseasonable flies.
Unseasonable flies.
There's a part where George says, there's all these, he got covered in flies, but it's out of season. Out of season. There's like a Egyptian plague's worth of flies in this room. Just this one room. And yet, the big thing is, and it's not the right season either.
Yeah, and we're talking about the level of flies that implies somebody left bacon on the radiator.
Yeah, but in a bad way.
Yeah.
What would you say is your favorite manifestation of the evil of the house?
I mean, the Get Out voice always at least pulls me back to Treehouse of Horror.
Sure.
The bleeding walls is done better in so many other movies. Like this one literally looked like the screen from Spaceballs leaking jam.
Yeah.
It's like kind of some droplets.
Yeah, it's like it's not gushing. It's just kind of like it's like the walls are sweating blood, as opposed to just bleeding.
I would actually say one of my favorite was one of the most understated effects. There's a scene where Margot Kidder comes back into the house and she starts going up the front stairs, and the front door in the background closes behind her. I like that because it was one of the few times where the effect wasn't a big deal.
That's fair. I kind of like the apropos of nothing, the toilets start oozing a viscous black syrup.
Okay, yeah.
Never explained.
Never
touched
dealt
on
with.
About. Yeah, no. It's apparently it just worked itself out.
Yeah, never a sign of them cleaning that up or like taking it to a lab. Like, hey, the black stuff in our toilet. What's this?
Apparently, it was brought by the nun, and when the nun left, it left with her. As near as I can tell, because that's happened. The Aunt Helena shows up, and George and everybody's upstairs dealing with just black, evil licorice coming out of the toilet. And then she leaves, and they never bring it up again.
Yeah.
Because we're so much, at that point, we're focused on, will George be well enough to go to the wedding? Because he's the best man at his wife's brother's wedding.
Yeah, and I hate to drop the toilet stuff, although, like, again, black goo coming out of your toilet, you feel like you should deal with it, but we have to abandon that just like the movie did, because, yeah, there's a wedding in the first act of the movie.
Yeah.
Her brother is getting married. He has $1,500 that he has counted out multiple times.
In cash.
In cash that he must pay to the caterer.
Yeah.
And it's hammered home so hard that you just assume this is the way catering happens at weddings, is you hand them all of the cash on the day. Yes, some weddings they do that, and then they throw in a little tip. That's nice.
I want the cash before you all get stomach or food poisoning.
Right. No actual business doing weddings demands on cash on the spot on the day of the event. You have down payments.
Sure.
And then you pay off either before or after the event, depending on the thing. But there are contracts signed.
Yeah.
The fact that on the site of the day, he had to have the $1,500 there is not the most problematic thing in the movie, but still. So the money goes missing in the house. They have a big fight. Where is the money?
Never found.
They find one of the rings for the bills. But what did the house need with the money?
The house has debts. The house has gambling debts.
Son of a bitch.
That's I can figure. Yeah. It needs the money. It's like, it's the demonic version of Oral Roberts, where if it didn't get that money, it was going to be in serious trouble.
So he's going to go over there and break a foundation.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's the babysitter. The babysitter, in the unlocked closet. This poor babysitter for the youngest. Okay, so there are 3 kids. There are 2 older boys and 1 younger girl. They bring the 2 older boys to the wedding because apparently they can behave, and they leave the girl with a babysitter who has one of these. She's got braces, and she has like the wires on the outside of her mouth and everything, and she goes to put Amy to bed. But Amy says that her imaginary friend Jody, who may or may not be a manifestations of the ghost because it is never addressed or touched upon or explained.
One of the best creepy things in the movie is pretty much left on the sidelines.
Exactly. And Amy, I forget what the babysitter's name is. The babysitter goes into the closet to check. I'm sorry?
Did we get a name?
I think we did. Jackie?
We'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll go with Jackie. Jackie goes into the closet, gets stuck in the closet, is battering the door so hard to get out of the closet. Her fingers are bloody and gnarled. George and Kathy come home. There's not even a lock on the closet door. What the shit? It's like, just Jody, my imaginary friend, doesn't like her. Mm-hmm.
And then Jody, the imaginary friend, is shown throughout the movie as a rocking chair that's rocking on its own.
And or a really gross-looking Raggedy Ann doll that Amy has. And is never explained or paid off.
Yep. So, we don't know if the ghost is one ghost. Is the ghost Satan posing as multiple ghosts? Is it a ghost at all, or is it all demonic? Is it the ghosts of the family that died there a year ago, or is it that something demonic in the house caused that murder to happen as well, or anything? Like, as far as storytelling goes, I don't know what the story was.
There was no story. There's like no, like there's no, and there's the inciting action, rising action, climax, denouement. There is a whole lot of inciting action that never turns into anything else. There's actually a pretty steady stream of supernatural horribleness happening to this family. But it stays at this plateau for the entire movie, and then they drive away.
Because we never, we watch Brolin escalate being a shitty stepdad.
Yeah. And then, he is just short of a murderer.
But he leaves with the wife. Yeah, she's fine with leaving with him. So apparently it's not him. The kids have no personality.
Yeah. We were annoyed at the beginning when it's like they haven't even introduced the kids by name. It's like, oh wait, yeah, no, they're right. They're right. It didn't matter.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, while we had arguably gotten the kids' names, I don't know what any of them were.
Matt and Greg.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's screaming the names when they're trying to get out, I think, or when she's going up the stairs. Matt and Greg, Matt, Greg.
Phew.
It's people love this horror movie.
This is the best reviewed Amityville horror movie.
But it's it has a place of honor in horror fandom.
I think we are fucked for the next 25 episodes.
Or it's just going to get funnier and funnier. Come for the plot synopses and minor review and loose reviews of the Amityville horror films. Stay for the slow descent into insanity for Patrick and Tom.
This might be a living hell. This might be the ultimate Amityville horror. Is that house taking it out on us?
There is a Ryan Reynolds one. There's a Ryan Reynolds one in the future. There's that.
That's about halfway along.
There's an oasis of Canada.
Because this one came out in 79.
Well, Margaret Kidder's Canadian.
That is also true.
Yeah.
This one came out in 79.
And that was 2005.
I know that part 6 came out in 92. 2005 was the remake. I feel like 2005 forward is when, I don't know if there's an issue where the rights fell into public domain or whatever, but it seems like the majority of the sequels hit in the 2000s forward.
Jesus.
So
direct to video heaven.
This is gonna suck.
This is the best one. This is the
best one according to Rotten Tomatoes.
James Brolin is really all kidding aside. James Brolin is something to watch in this movie.
Oh, he
which is really
him and Steiger. Have fun.
They do. It would have been wonderful if they had fun together.
Yeah, but it's really nice watching the two of them just cutting loose on acting without any direction.
Yeah,
well, you're going crazy here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a moment in the movie when James Brolin is at the bar with his hippie friends, and the hippie friends are figuring out, or they're supposing the supernatural thing that's happening in the house. And I swear to God, James Brolin almost looks as if he, the actor, just realized how silly the movie he's in. and we laughed for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max, so feel free.
Yeah. There's bits where people channel Tommy Wiseau.
I'm coming apart!
Literally a line from this.
Only acted just a little bit better. We did have the idea of how much fun it would be if, like, you take the exact same script, but have Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig as the Lutz family.
Yeah, I think we've already gotten bare minimum one remake, although I know that some of the sequels were loose remakes. But yeah, I think that's the best thing to do.
There's so much material here, I don't know how we could improve upon it.
What if we gave them backstory or connective tissue?
No.
But yeah, like, do this movie with this script, but do like they did with it when they did the Lifetime movie, have them play it straight the entire time.
Yeah.
They're not changing the dialogue. They're not making jokes within the dialogue. All of the joke is in the performance. Let them just cut loose. I feel like that'd be amazing.
I'd be into that.
I'm curious though how you would cast the rest of it. Like, I will say for the police detective, Brian Doyle Murray.
The Hurry.
Yeah.
The Rod Steiger priest, though, that's the big one.
That's like, because that's one where you totally cut loose. You have to be able to scream yourself into oblivion.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least as a placeholder, Al Pacino.
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker would be good.
Michael Rooker as Rod Steiger's character, I think, would be a lot of fun.
Again, the names don't matter.
Yeah.
What was his name? Father something. Delaney. Father Delaney.
Yes.
How do I know all these names? I didn't like this movie.
I'd say we just watched it, but I didn't remember that.
I'm saying, this is my point. This is an oddly forgettable movie.
As the Aunt Nun, I will say Lynn Shay.
Sure.
I don't know.
They're the two friends and the brother, but I don't care.
Yeah, most of the characters we don't care about. A lot of them we likens to actors who are also definitely outaged for playing them now.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Amityville Horror.
Yeah, and we are encouraging another remake of a series that has
at least one official remake. Not including just the...
Yeah, we have coming up on 30 movies we should probably not encourage anymore.
No. What is our next... Amityville 2. Which one is
The Possession, I believe.
Wasn't that... The Exorcist 2 was The Possession?
Exorcist 2 was The Heretic.
You're right.
3 was in 3D, I remember that.
I mean... You sort of got to. I like that so many horror movies picked up on. Yeah, we should do it in through. We should do through 3D, like Friday the 13th Part 3D, Jaws 3D.
And I'm trying to find a 3D print that'll work with anaglyph glasses so that we can actually watch it here. But apparently they're not really that pressed on putting that out there. I mean, I know that stuff like Jaws 3D and Friday the 13th 3D and Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare are probably a little more in demand. But we got the Friday.
Oh, dude, the Friday's awesome.
Yeah. That's on the box set, so...
Can't believe we got that box set. Right,
it's so nice.
Amityville 2, The Possession.
Aha!
Directed by Damiani. Screenplay by Tommy Lee Wallace.
Oh, well, that's promising. Tommy Lee Wallace, we had discussed during the movie. He is probably... I don't know how he's best known, but he did Fright Night Part 2, which I love. He did Halloween 3, which I love.
Yeah. Halloween 3 is good.
Yeah. Like, he was a Carpenter protege from... I think Precinct 13, but maybe Halloween forward. I know he worked as at least production designer and behind the scenes stuff on Halloween. But yeah, he was brought up by Carpenter, so okay, that's at least something interesting.
And it also has Burt Young of Paulie from the Rocky films.
What, are you crazy?
Yeah, exactly. 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. That is a drop.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Again, the one we just watched is the Rotten Tomatoes champion.
Oh, boy. Final thoughts?
I want to see this through.
No, totally. That's not even a question.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no. This is gonna be a journey of terribleness that I couldn't turn back now if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I'm only one in. I would say it's oddly watchable, even though it's not engaging.
Not even remotely engaging.
I don't understand it, but
it is a collection of scenes that all look like horror.
Watch. I don't even know how you could do this on purpose if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. It's like McDonald's looks like food, has content that is food, but when you finish eating McDonald's, you never feel like you've had a satisfying meal.
No, I guess not.
It always leaves you a little bit wanting, even if you supersize the fuck out of it. There's just something hollow. And part of that's the design of having too much salt and sugar in the food to make you want to come back for more. But they weren't doing that with this.
No, this was supposed to be a big thing.
Yeah. Hopefully you all feel like coming back for more, because next time we're keeping it.
We're doing this no matter what.
The early ones. And if nobody listens to any of this podcast,
we add it to the time capsule.
Exactly. The internet is forever. Future aliens. I hope this has been helpful.
Yep. All right. See you guys later.
See ya.